start the show.
For Thursday, October 2nd, 2018. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. And we are back in studio this week. No longer on location, still not live, recording for This Only Test. I'm Norm, joined by Jeremy.
Hi, Norm.
Hi, Jeremy. And also Kishore.
Hi.
What were you doing last week? Just waiting here alone, just by yourself, wondering where we were?
Are you sure I wasn't on the show last week? I think
I'm pretty sure.
There were some confused thoughts that I'd gotten
really?
a promotion to CEO of Big Screen VR.
Oh, boy. No.
No, I was traveling on the East Coast. I was at a bunch of conferences. I'm only back here for about 24 hours before I head to New York.
Oh, glad we caught you.
New York Comic Con
I'll
coming
be there
up.
too. Yeah.
Are we doing a tested meetup?
I don't think we're doing a tested meetup, not formally.
Impromptu.
Impromptu. Come say hi to Norm, Joey, and I.
So we have a lot of travel this week among the team. So this is being recorded a little bit earlier in the week. Some news, hopefully nothing breaks. No news breaks on Wednesday or even Thursday morning. This is being recorded on Tuesday.
Mega Man 11 Day.
Is that really
Yep,
the case?
came out today.
Oh,
That's right, on
Wow,
Switch,
what am I doing
PC,
here?
everything. Exactly.
I should be playing Mega Man 11 on the Switch too.
Yes.
Well, I guess it's a Nintendo game, or it's a Capcom game. How are you guys doing? How was Connecticut?
I was in Providence and Hartford, and it was delightful. Shout out to those people that came up to me at science conferences and talked about Tested. I like that. It was fun.
And a huge shout out to everyone who came up to us at Oculus Connect 5. I don't think we properly acknowledged that on last week's podcast.
We love you guys.
It's honestly, it reaffirms our love for virtual reality. It reaffirms our love for the things, what we do, chatting with developers, making our projections episodes, and I think it went by way too fast. I was like, after the first keynote announcement, which was last Wednesday, I want to say, like it felt like the next 2 days went by in a blink.
And we'll probably do a very quick recap of the major VR news in the VR Minute this show in case anybody missed the last major episodes last week.
Well, in that case, let's jump to our top story this week.
Top story this week.
You know, I have in our show notes big question marks on our top story this week because we have kind of a lot to choose from potentially. I'm gonna put it out to you guys. Put our panel of distinguished podcasters is our top story. Elon Musk stepping down as chairman of Tesla Inc.
Asked to step down.
Can I hear a option B?
Option B: Microsoft's new Surface product announcements.
Any other options?
Option C:
Mega Man 11.
What about the Nobel Prizes? How often do those come about? Once a year.
Once a year.
Once a year.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if anything truly stands out this week, but let's talk about, I guess. I'm choosing. I'm like randomly choosing. Let's talk about Tesla.
Do it.
It's the Tesla story.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Okay.
As much as we don't want to give him the attention he so desperately craves on Twitter, he's got that attention and are now our curiosity, because he was sued by the SEC last week. He was sued for his tweet saying that he had secured funding to take Tesla private at an equivalent to their stock valuation of $420
a share
per share.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha, Elon Musk.
Hey, I remember saying, is that a pot joke? And
you know what? The folks at the SEC actually agree with you and say that number, that tweet was actually had no foundation in reality, no basis.
Oh, really? Because I read that it was something like 10% over current and then rounding up to 420 because he thought his girlfriend would find it funny.
Well, there you go. Because he thought, and because it had significance as colloquially as a euphemism for weed.
Yeah.
Apparently, the SEC not into blazing it.
Not
when
into
it
it.
comes to stock prices.
I don't know if that's why they had a problem.
Yeah, well, when it comes to stock prices, I don't think they're into that.
Yeah, so I don't know. They are afraid that he was trying to affect the price of the stock, and he was essentially asked to step down as chairman of the board.
Yeah, but there were lots of talk over the weekend about settlement claims and how this could potentially be resolved. And what ended up happening is that they reached a settlement where Elon Musk will not admit any guilt. He will not admit any wrongdoing, but he will step down not as CEO but as chairman of the board of Tesla, which is not. This is
much better than CEO.
Sure, in terms of for him.
Yes.
Yeah, for him. He definitely did not want to step down CEO. But many large companies have different CEOs and chairmans.
I would say more than just for him, wouldn't you? I don't think there's any. You tell me. You're the Tesla owner on the podcast.
I would not mind at all if he was not CEO.
Really?
I think that operation runs fine. And I think that the image that he gives in his cult of personality of how keyed into the daily decision making as CEO, I think is overblown, and I think that there are a lot of very smart and capable people working in parts of Tesla that could run the company without the figurehead.
That are running the company.
That are currently running the company without the figurehead of Elon Musk, and I think a lot of the direction that he's set for the next couple of products, I think, already are in place.
But you do agree that that's important. That somebody at the top setting those moonshots.
Sure.
Is important.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Apple and Steve Jobs, right? In Steve Jobs' past, people thought that Apple would go to shit because they wouldn't have a visionary, someone to rally the troops, or someone to make those decisions, and someone with a personality as big as Steve Jobs. I mean, there are a lot of parallels here. And Tim Cook does not have that kind of big personality, but he runs a good ship, and he delegates the responsibilities of that type of vision to the people in charge of design and technology, and trust those people. And I think that's what you need at Tesla.
You know, Elon admitted on the Joe Rogan Experience that most of his job is still doing engineering work.
That's right.
Like he talked about, like his day-to-day isn't what you might associate, that he still kind of rolls up his sleeves and gets in there on the technical side of things. So I don't think this is a bad thing for him not to be chairman of the board. In fact, we're past the moonshot part of Tesla. We're at the scale up, more people buying electric cars. Like, we're in an electric car world now.
Yeah. Except you.
Well, I'll get there.
So he didn't have to step down. I mean, the long and short of it is that he is still CEO. The hefty fines were paid by both him and Tesla, I think to the tune of $20 million each. And there will be independent board members added to the board for Tesla, and the stock seems to have rebounded.
I read that, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you guys haven't read this, but I read a headline somewhere that all of his tweets now need to be approved.
Really?
Have you seen that?
I need that.
I see.
Just check for basic
I question
grammar.
whether or not that's true, because I think that should be applied to the U.S. president as well.
Sure.
And if it's not applied to him, I think Elon should be able to tweet what he wants. But I did read that.
And this goes to our past conversations about what Twitter is as a publishing platform. Is it a personal, is it a message board for corporate notices and formal notices, or is it just personal musings, right? And those areas, there's a huge Venn diagram there, and those lines are blurred because in many cases you have these people who are spokespeople for their companies, but also running these accounts on the very same account as just their personal thoughts and feelings.
That's right. And it's not an official Tesla account, right? I mean, this is...
Well, that's where that's where the lines are blurred, because when you are CEO or when you're the president of the United States, the things you say are of record.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we've chosen the top story this week, but let's shift gears and talk about something a little more fun. 2 weeks of some pop culture. All right, a couple trailers came out these past 2 weeks. Last week while we were out. Let's start with the first one. The comic book movie wise, I don't know if I'm that excited about this, but we had the first trailer for Dark Phoenix. No X-Men Dark Phoenix, just straight up Dark Phoenix.
What are you talking about?
This is a continuation of the X-Men sets of movies with
started with First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse. This is the fourth one in the reboot, essentially, but still in that shared universe. Probably will be the first one without Hugh Jackman as Logan.
Yeah, even though some of those past ones just had him in a cameo
role, totally. And it will be the same actor as James McAvoy as Professor X. It will be telling the story of Jean Grey and the Phoenix, which was kind of already told in X-Men 3, but it'll be the retelling of that set in the 90s.
Now, this is an excellent comic book story. In terms of the comic arc, it is really fascinating, delves into some dark places, has some interesting connection to a larger universe. I don't know. I share your skepticism about this movie.
Yeah.
I was surprised that this trailer came out. I think this movie was supposed to actually come out in November of this year, but it's been pushed back.
In the trailer, the date for release date is this year, and then it's already been pushed back since that announcement because of timing. I think Fox had pushed back. Battle Angel got pushed back to next year. Dark Phoenix got pushed back, and instead they might be putting some Deadpool-related thing in theaters this holiday.
Some Deadpool thing?
Yeah, it was a briefly teased image of Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool costume with Fred Savage, I want to say, from the Wonder Years, recreating the opening scenes of Princess Bride. And the speculation is that there is some special Deadpool 2 version that will be hitting theaters again because it's a competitive weekend that movie was supposed to come out on. Dark Phoenix was supposed to come out on.
I'll say the trailer looks fine. There's the person who I can't remember her name. She's in Zero Dark 30. Jessica
Chastain. Who is she playing?
Who is she playing? I don't know. I thought she was going to be Lilandra, but
yeah. But she said no. She has come out and said no. So who knows? The trailer. The best thing I could say about the trailer is that I think the costumes look really good.
I actually like the Dark Phoenix effect on Jean Grey
on
too.
Sophie Turner.
Yeah, I thought that looked pretty good as a special effect.
My feeling is that Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique will die in this one. I feel like that will happen.
Jennifer Lawrence wants to not be.
She wants
tied to.
I can't believe she's still in these movies.
Yeah, it's really crazy,
right? And I don't know how they're going to converge the timelines and have Mystique be a villain again to converge with the Patrick Stewart X-Men timeline.
The one hope I have is that they're pushing this back to merge the MCU, and this is where
you think
it
it's because Marvel and Disney are going to
Captain Marvel 1990s,
interesting.
Dark Phoenix 1990s.
You think there'll be crossover potential? No way.
That's what I hope for, and I realistically I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen, given that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios was not directly involved with this one. This still comes out of Fox.
Can we talk about something I'm interested in?
What are you interested in?
How about that new Bumblebee trailer? I've never been interested in Transformers movies.
Okay.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't care for
You enjoyed the first one, right?
No.
What?
No.
Wow.
God.
Oh,
what
wow.
are you talking about? No.
You didn't like seeing Optimus Prime on screen?
Not one part of it. No, that is not my Transformers, man. That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
And now it is.
It is.
Why is it now?
Because it's
the same stuff.
Have you not seen it?
I saw the trailer.
It's classic Transformers. Bumblebee is a Volkswagen Beetle. Right? Starscream looks like he's supposed to. Soundwave looks like he's supposed to. This is the original designs, and I'm glad they're bringing it back, even if it's in a PG format.
And it's what? It's not PG-13?
I don't know if it's PG or PG-13, but it is intended for a younger audience.
And it feels like that. It's also a movie that's set in the past. It's a prequel to set in the same universe, but this is just called Bumblebee, and this ends up being how Bumblebee ends up in that parking lot where Shia LaBeouf finds him in the beginning.
I wonder how they're going to transition to that.
Yeah. And so it probably doesn't end well for the main character. It's going to be, I think this is going to be one to pull your heartstrings, and it's going to be a tearjerker.
This is the first one I'm interested in, so I'll let you know.
Directed by Travis Knight, who was the president of Leica Studios and directed Kubo and the Two Strings, and it's his first live-action debut.
Directed Kubo?
Directed Kubo.
Really?
And the Two Strings.
That's huge.
It's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite movies of that
year. It's going
year.
to pull those heartstrings. It feels like it's the kid and robot,
we've seen this
story that I think that Steven Spielberg really pushed for in the original Transformers with Shia LaBeouf, your pet robot type of story. And a lot of movies have tried to do this.
What do you mean Spielberg pushed for?
Spielberg was the executive producer of the original Transformers movies.
Oh,
and a lot of
the
relationship between Bumblebee and Shia LaBeouf's character in the first one was influenced by Spielberg.
I wonder who came up with the idea that he couldn't talk.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like Bumblebee can talk in this one.
Nope.
But the latest trailer, like you mentioned, it has beautiful shots and shows more Transformers. It's not just going to be Bumblebee, and it shows them 90s era. This is a very smart way
to get 90s. Like that's when you grew up, dude. This is not 90s.
No,
era.
this is 80s.
This is 80s?
Very clearly like 84.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It's all blending in. Those decades. Late 80s.
It says it's set in 1987.
Okay, late 80s, but it explains why the look of the Transformers maybe looks more like the ones you grew up with.
I didn't know it was set then. That's interesting.
It still has two problems. Produced by Michael Bay. It's going to always be a problem for me.
He's been asked to step down as director. That's fine.
Starring John Cena. I don't know if I feel good
I like
about
John Cena.
I don't know about that one.
Okay.
I don't either. No.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah, he's the fighter.
Yeah, the wrestler.
He's a wrestler. He's hilarious. He was in that Amy Schumer movie, the recent one, and he was in that movie Blockers. He's like The Rock. He's very likable.
Oh, dude.
He's very likable.
How dare you?
Don't know if he's like The
How
Rock.
dare you? I think Dwayne Johnson's going to bust through the wall next to you and say, how dare you in a second.
You're welcome.
On to other movie trailers just released today, I believe. We have a new trailer for probably my most highly anticipated Spider-Man for sure movie this year. And it's definitely not Venom. It's Into the Spider-Verse. This is the animated film from Sony Animation Studios, and it looks so good.
See, I was super excited about it at first, but now this trailer's got me all kinds of confused. So hopefully you can. I mean, did you even know there were going to be multiple Spider people?
So the first trailer had 2 Spider-Men in it already.
I missed that entirely.
What the first trailer is, it's the main character is Miles Morales, and it looks like it's going to be the telling of how he becomes Spider-Man in a world where Peter Parker already exists. Right. This is what happened in the comic books when Miles Morales, which came out of the Ultimate Marvel universe, when that universe collapsed, he was one of the surviving members who got brought into the Marvel 616 universe, and so you have an adult Spider-Man which is technically the same Spider-Man that we all grew up with. With timelines shifted here and there and events condensed here and there, but with a younger kid in New York who also has spider powers and some other powers as well. He can also cloak. He has some shocking, stinging powers.
What?
But the gist of it is he also got bit by some type of mutant spider, and he has spider powers. Now, this movie is called Into the Spider-Verse because, as readers of Spider-Man comics know, there's more than just Miles Morales and Peter Parker. There's also a whole universe of different spider people. Spider-Man is famous for having clones, the Ben Reilly clones. There's also a Spider-Gwen, and
you're overloading him. You gotta downshift.
Noir, Spider-Ham
every week,
and it sounds like all these characters will have some place in this movie.
Every week, you guys come up with some major new change to the Marvel universe.
Spider-Ham.
I wonder if you're just sitting there like, these guys are lying. Like, how long? There's talking with confidence.
I'm telling you.
And there's BSing. And if you go to Wikipedia, they're all BS.
Jeremy, I will make an agreement with you that one of these weeks coming up in the next month, we will do that. We will just straight up lie and see if you can figure it out.
Okay.
To tell the truth, the radio show.
So you're telling me that all these spider people actually ties in with a comic book series?
Or many of them. Spider-Man Noir, for example, who I believe is voiced by Nicolas Cage in this movie. Like that's an alternate reality Spider-Man. He wears goggles. It's all black and white. And I think that was created for an old Activision game where you played like Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099.
But there's a pig spider person.
Spider-Ham.
Dude, seriously?
Yes.
That you know his name?
Yes. Yes. And the new trailer is awesome because it's also self-aware about the past Spider-Man movies. Like the opening sequence, the adult Spider-Man, who I believe is played by the actor from New Girl. He was in Jurassic World. I forget his name. Very recognizable voice. He talks about he's the Spider-Man that we're supposed to assume is like the grown-up Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Prime. Spider-Man Prime.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah. At least in the cinematic universe wise, it's gorgeous. The animation
think
looks really good.
Yeah.
And
It really looks cool. Like I've never seen animation quite like this.
it doesn't feel like a direct-to-DVD movie. It looks like
Do you know anything about the production of it? Is there a 3D element to the animation, or is it strictly cell-based?
Oh, I mean, it's all shaders to create that effect. There's no cell animation there.
Okay,
at
but
all.
computer graphics.
It's all computer graphics with shaders to make it look shaded,
Yeah.
as opposed to hand drawn. I don't think there's any hand drawn there.
So it is 3D.
It's all 3D. It's all.
Okay.
I mean, and not 3D in the sense that you wear, 3D glasses.
Right.
But it's all modeled.
Yes.
It's Pixar style,
Huh.
Big Hero 6 style.
Really?
Not hand drawn
Interesting.
animation.
This is one of the first comic book movies, quote unquote, that actually looks a little bit like a comic book.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm so excited about that sort of art style to it. We've gotten that from Japanese animation a number of times, but never in a theatrical release.
What is the sound Spider-Man makes? Thwap? When he...
Thwip,
Right.
thwip,
Because at one point in the trailer, that he's being taught how to swing, and he's like, thwap, thwap, thwap. He says it out loud.
The animation for this film, according to Wikipedia, required 140 animators, the largest crew ever used by a Sony Picture Animation for a film. So this is like Pixar making a superhero film. And I mean, yes, Disney Animation
They did that.
technically making a comic book film,
Okay.
an adaptation of a comic, adapting a story, and so it has the legs of people who love Spider-Man and also, Sony Animation Studios, which has done some pretty good work. I like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and some of their past efforts.
Okay.
Looking very forward to that. Moving on to other pop culture news. Last time we were here, we talked about you watching Black Mirror. And Jeremy, have you watched any more Black Mirror since then?
No, it would all go downhill. I mean, if this is the one that won the Emmy,
Wow, that's a cynical way to look at things.
is it, or am I wrong?
I think that this one, the one that we watched, USS Callister, absolutely for you resonated with you the most. Hit all those notes. So technically, yes.
All right.
The other episodes I don't think would hit notes as high, but those notes are still pretty high. There's still great episodes there,
Okay.
and I think you would enjoy them. So
right.
just because you've tasted the best,
You know what I need? Another suggestion.
wow,
So
okay, all right.
If
okay.
you have an actual episode, a specific episode I should watch, let me know.
This one's on you, viewers.
I got this. I got this, Kishore.
Come on, let them
got
have
this.
something.
I'm gonna give you an order or a viewing order too.
Wow.
San Junipero
Okay. All right. That's all I need to know.
is season 2, and season 3 Black Mirror. The first season that's on Netflix, which I believe is season 3. Watch that, and then I would say the holiday special that's at the end of season 2.
Okay.
The one with John Hamm.
All right, great.
Oh, that one was good.
Yeah.
I don't know about this order, though, but fine.
Well, in terms of Jeremy just wants quality. So at some point, the quality's going to drop because there are some episodes I don't think are really worth it.
It's a really experimental series, right? And,
Yes.
and it seems like where they're going to go next season is into a different kind of experimental direction.
With the format.
They're thinking of doing, it sounds like they're planning to do a choose-your-own-adventure style episode where you actually interact with the program and choose your adventure.
Now, Netflix has experimented with user interaction for linear content in
A little
the
bit,
past with children's shows,
Yeah.
primarily, and I haven't watched those. Kishore and Jeremy, have you just tried those and how that works? But my assumption is that Black Mirror's choose your own adventure style of the episode won't just be a straightforward get your way to convergence at the end, as many, delineating paths end up being, but we'll actually have meta commentary about the format in itself. That's my hope.
I like that idea.
I like that it will actually be, maybe it's they use the parallel universes as a concept, right? As you are the viewer creating parallel universe. I don't know. Some awareness of the format seems ripe for Black Mirror as a show.
Or the viewer as God.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
Making decisions about what happens to people. Right. Should they live or should they die?
That's ambitious, right? It's also...
In a kid's context, I totally get it.
Puss in Boots.
Yeah. Yep. Fine, totally fine. Because the stakes are usually low and you can be silly with it. Or you could... Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you don't. My concern isn't so much that it won't work thematically. It's, do adults want to watch TV, or do they want to pick up the remote and actually interact and use their brain?
That's a really good question. Wow, it all depends on how many times you're forced to press that button.
Well, from the article I read, it seemed like it's going to be even more intricate than the children's stories.
And how frequent was that? How frequent were you presented with the options?
I don't know.
If it's like 3 times in an hour, right? I guess it could be varying lengths. Like there are so many ways they could do this. It could be under the construct of they know they're writing an hour and a half of television, which these Black Mirror episodes typically movie length, hour and a half, and so they know that they're going to break that up into the commercial breaks or the story acts ends, and everyone always ends up with 90 minutes of television, quote unquote. That's one way to do it. Or they could do what the great Choose Your Own Adventure books did.
Yes.
Which was, some people would get much shorter stories because you reach dead ends, and some people would get very long stories, and there would be cases where you'd loop back and you'd spin off on a separate thread and come back to the main story. And so someone could have, a way to enjoy 2 hours of content.
Well,
here.
If you go back and watch all the branches, which you do if you read a children's Choose Your Own Adventure book, you end up reading the whole book because you want to know.
That's the act of putting your finger on the pages.
Exactly.
Right? Like you thumb the page here, and you, like, I don't know how you read it, but the way I read it was I always wanted to get the short branches off first.
Oh, really?
Done first.
Huh.
So my last reading would be the longest, best ending.
Oh, interesting.
Because if I got the longest, best ending, then
so you're saying if you made a choice that looked like the long ending,
I would hold my thumb there, hold my finger there, and go, okay, let me make the other choice and get.
You're a crazy person, man. What are you talking about?
This may be.
We're talking about watching TV.
Exactly. How would you do that watching TV?
Yeah,
with bookmarks, timestamps.
I'm imagining that you can't. That these choices are. That you have to find an ending before you can go back and try again.
And these choices, how apparent will they be? Will they be a visual icon and say
Final Fantasy VII style,
right?
Where you come out of the cutscene,
right? Like this scene's gonna end. Like we have to read text. Like they have to decide as a format. Will they make these decisions? One, compelling, so you actually feel like there is a decision to be made, and two, relayed to you in a way where you can comprehend the decision while also enjoying the story, because you're not just sitting there, like you're not expected to pause and go, moral dilemma. Do I choose person A or person B?
It would be interesting for when this comes out, all three of us watch it. We make our choices. We don't watch it more than once.
And we tell the story?
And we come back and have a water cooler conversation.
Maybe we can do that like synced up Netflix thing.
No, that's disastrous.
That's the opposite of my idea. What do you mean? We should have our own unique individual.
No, but we'd still have the individual experiences. All it does is sync up when you start something. I'm assuming the length of the show isn't going to change dramatically.
I wonder. Like Norm said, he likes to find the short stories
Norm's
first.
already hacking the experience.
By the way, you know what would be ideal for this, and maybe this is so obvious you guys haven't said it, but the books. Just convert the books into animated, series.
The Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Yeah, and allow kids to choose the.
There's too many choices in those books, though.
And also, some of those were
about an animated series. You could do it.
Some of those stories were intentionally written to be really far-fetched or not great stories, because it was more about just decision, choice.
But the fact that it is the Choose Your Own Adventure series, the fact like that, I'm already on board. Like, it's nostalgic. It also excuses the gimmick. And, I think it would work.
And it goes back to your question of does this gimmick even work for people who want the couch, lean back couch experience?
Which is probably why Netflix hasn't done this already.
It's expensive.
It just happened. Yeah, it is a more expensive way to produce a show, and it's a gamble. But Black Mirror is the show to do it with.
I wonder if it's that much more expensive. What are we talking about? Maybe 20 more minutes on an hour-long show?
You think that? I don't know. I mean, I know when it comes to like games, it's considerably more. It's many, many X more than a standard movie.
What I would like is for Netflix to make you commit to your choice on your account.
You never get to watch.
Never get you choose you make your choice as you're watching the episode, and when you reach the end, it locks it to your account.
What about sub accounts?
No. Family watching time. Sorry, Dad. What happened to my Black Mirror? Nope.
I can't wait for my wife to come up to me and she's like, Why is Ira's account getting all these recommendations for Black Mirror now? I had to go in and
it's
find
a
out.
reflection of you, the choices you've made.
I like it.
For Black Mirror.
Be extra bold, Netflix. $1 million ideas right now.
There was an iPhone game that worked that way. That you had one chance. It was like an infinite runner or something.
Okay.
You had one chance
To play the whole game?
to play the whole game. And then once you tried, that was your score and it went on the scoreboard.
Wait, and you never could play the game again?
That's right.
Was it free?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone got one try. I like
right.
it.
Yeah,
The sense of finality is important,
Yeah.
I think. Interesting. This is supposed to be... This is something that may happen by early next year. Is that right? The report by Bloomberg says that Netflix will, by the end of this year, introduce iterations of live-action shows that will have this, so that we could see this beginning at the end of this year, which would be really awesome. I'm sure if this is something that they've been working on with Black Mirror, it's been working on for quite a while.
Do you think USS Callister is so successful that it will get its own spin-off? Is that possible?
This is your wishful thinking.
It is. I'm just planting this seed.
This is you.
I think the
going
CBS
back.
lawyers are like waiting to pick up the phone.
I've already Googled for T-shirts. Like, I really like that show.
You like that episode.
I like that episode, yeah.
You like that episode. You want to work at that company that made that game,
Sure.
that MMO.
Or just watch the TV show more.
One last story in our pop culture news. A little bit of a leak, a software leak.
Oh, yeah. You're the Harry Potter fan on this.
I am not the
panel.
Harry Potter fan.
Really?
I'm the Harry Potter fan.
Oh, you know what? I even talk about this at the start of the show. I had some Lego talk. It's been a long day, folks. We've had a lot of filming today at the office.
Yes.
And it's kind of taken us off our groove. But I think the reason you said that you thought I was a Harry Potter fan was because I most recently, this past weekend, spent...
Because you're married to one.
I am married to a Harry Potter fan,
Yeah.
but I spent this weekend building a 6,000-piece Harry Potter Lego set.
Yeah.
But I was by far the least informed person about Harry Potter
I did not know that.
who had built that.
Yeah.
By the way, the stained glass in that Hogwarts set was beautiful.
It's Hogwarts Castle. Buddy Trace and his girlfriend came over, and the four of us, along with one of their friends, spent 2 days assembling a 6,000-piece set. And all my experience, I went home. They started on like Friday while I was at the office. And I went home, and I go home. I build Lego at work, guys. I go home not to build Lego. But it was fun.
So the news is somebody has leaked footage of what appears to be a AAA Harry Potter role-playing game.
Oh.
And apparently it was leaked by someone who was asked to take a survey at a mall, and they were told no video footage was allowed, no cameras were allowed, but they didn't do a real good job checking. So,
Oopsie.
So one of the people taking the survey about what they thought of the gameplay shot it on their phone.
So it's this focus group testing. This is what happens
Exactly.
for movies and some for games. But the people, there's supposed to be people off the street or they sign NDAs, but the people running this focus group screwed up. I'm surprised that word didn't get out about this at all with social media. Like people didn't create fake accounts and just post on Reddit, they're making a Harry Potter open world RPG.
What it felt like to me was that the studio, assuming it's real, it felt like the studio was maybe having a threat of being defunded or the project was being canceled.
You think it was
And so they leak it in order to drum up some excitement. That's what it felt like to me, although I have absolutely no clue. but it has that sense about it.
I mean, there's
Because-
some legitimacy here because it looks too good not to be
Yeah.
some game development.
So you basically see a wizard on screen swinging his wand.
They were paid $8 too
Exactly.
for the survey.
And then in the corner, you can see Stupefy and 2 other spells that apparently, maybe you can choose. I don't know. All I know is my kids would flip out. They would love this game. They spent the last. We told them we took away the video games last weekend, so my 2 kids went down in the basement and they wrote down all these Harry Potter spells on a big piece of paper, and then they started pretend casting at one another.
Oh, that's great.
And they had to do like the counter spells to the spells, and
Oh.
yeah, it was real role playing stuff.
I'm shocked by the Harry Potter fans, their ability, and maybe I shouldn't be because I didn't do it for Star Trek, but their ability to remember names of things. There's so many just named things in the Harry Potter universe where I just like,
Spider Ham. You came up with
I know,
Spider Ham.
And as I was saying that,
before.
I realized, but Spider Ham is kind of a logical thing. These are all made up words.
Wait.
Yes, all words are made up, but all the Harry Potter stuff is all made up words.
Is Spider-Ham real?
Spider Ham's real.
Spider Ham
Okay.
is
Spider
real.
Ham's real. But I'm saying like Spider Ham's when I say like Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Man 2099, these are real words.
Yeah.
With Harry Potter, they're made up names, made up spells. And again, yes, all words are made up, but there's so much that these kids and fans of Harry Potter remember. I mean, that's how deep that fandom is. So I'm not surprised that they would be developing an RPG and maybe an open world RPG. Warner Brothers has pulled
I
the
saw
video
that.
from YouTube citing copyright infringement. So it may lend credence to some of the legitimacy that I'm sure the lawyers made a call there.
Nah, they were just going to DMCA.
It was posted with a blurb set in the 1800s Wizarding World, so way before Harry Potter.
So this is also interesting because Harry Potter is going back in time. Of course, J.K. Rowling, and I say this again as someone caveating who does not know everything about Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling ended the Harry Potter saga with the books, right? The 7 books. Name them all.
Yep.
What? Sorcerer's
No,
Stone,
nobody don't do that.
No.
Chamber of Secrets.
No, dude.
Why are you doing that?
And but the universe, the shared universe, right? The JKU, RU, is the Wizarding World, and they have the movies. And you also had last week the trailer for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That sequel, The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Grindelwald.
I'm embarrassed by how much I think that looks like a good movie.
I like the first movie a lot.
Oh, I never saw it.
Oh, you should watch
because
the
I was
first
so put off by the first 8. But
They're it's-
totally different. Okay,
They're less kids movies.
that's it. Like, or they solved the child acting problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're
Ish.
adults.
There's
and-
still one actor that has a child acting role. That's not great in that movie.
But it's all this world building
but the
that J.K.
main
Rowling did.
the main character, his acting performance is great. I can't remember his name. He's from the movie about Stephen Hawking too.
Mm-hmm.
That
Eddie
Redmayne.
Thank you. Our Voltron brain powers combined. We will name all the actors in existence. So Crimes of Grindelwald, and again, people who are fans of that Wizarding World went crazy over this trailer because there were things revealed and snakes that were named and all that jazz. So I would not be surprised that they're hungry for more things in that world, even if it's set further in the past.
Oh, I'm surprised that we don't have a bigger Harry Potter game already. Like
I
that,
mean, they were EA made those licensed games, right?
were they
The
not?
Lego ones actually did better than those licensed
Yeah.
ones. So.
Yeah.
I don't know about the licensed ones. They weren't great. Okay.
They were
I
like,
didn't
the
play
Lord of the Rings games. They were adventure games.
Okay.
They did spells, third-person action games,
Okay.
that kind of stuff. And I guess the play is doing very well.
Right in England, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned Warner Brothers and the lawyers and DMCA, and we had something similar happen in another corner of fandom this last week. I want to put it in pop culture news and not tech, but the creators of a Star Trek Next Generation Enterprise D VR replica were shut down.
I mean, that's, I guess,
Computer, Arch, and simulation.
Oh, no.
what was it called? It was called Stage 9, which I didn't even know this, but that was one of the major problems that Paramount had with these guys, was the actual name of their studio. And it was named for the stage
That they filmed
that they
Next
filmed
Generation.
a lot of the old TV
that
show on.
seems like
Seems like a stretch. I don't know. The problem was, like, they were going to develop an entire fully functional NCC 1702.
fully fleshed out.
Whatever.
Did they not watch Galaxy Quest? Like, fans recreating schematics and blueprints of the fictional ships is how the universe was saved.
Yeah. No. Yeah, unfortunately, they couldn't come to any kind of
It's
way to work it out.
it's too bad, but like Ubisoft probably made a call about this.
Oh, because they have
They
a recreation
paid-
of the bridge for Bridge Commander.
And they
or
paid the
Bridge Crew.
license, right?
Yeah.
Look, but this was this wasn't going to be for sale. This was a free thing, and they certainly could have come up with a partnership. Why not get all this free development? That's great. That would have been a great thing in their favor, and they could have priced it whatever they wanted to.
This is in sharp contrast to Star Wars fandom, where the R2D2 fan builders were brought on to work on the droids for the new films, and fandom is embraced in that way. And wasn't it Paramount and CBS that put out that the rules for proper fandom, because they've shut down fan films before, and yet they had theoretically come to an agreement and put out some guidelines for what you can and cannot create in fandom. Like, these fans have got to figure out a way to make this happen. Change all the logos, change all the icons. Don't call it Stage 9, don't call it Enterprise. But let me wander that ship in VR, because that's all I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it inspires a whole new generation of 3D modelers and game developers and programmers.
Maybe they'll do that, right? It's not too
Yeah.
late.
Hopefully not too late.
I know they must be discouraged.
All right, one final thing in pop culture. We have a poster for the new Hellboy film, which finally reveals in all its glory the new Hellboy. This is not directed by Guillermo del Toro, not starring Ron Perlman. It is what's his name from Stranger Things, the cop from Stranger Things.
I can't Voltron you on this one.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it, Kishore.
I can't remember. his name.
David.
I actually don't know. It's an H, right?
Jeremy, come on, Google.
Jim Hopper. That's
That's the character. That's the character.
Not helpful.
Phil Callahan.
No,
Oh well, I'm just googling here.
David H. something. Nah, brain gone too mush. I think it looks good.
David Harbour.
There you go, Harbor. I was thinking Harbaugh, and that's because football season's on right now. David Harbour. The makeup looks good. Full Hellboy horns. He's holding
Horns.
a flaming sword. He has these giant scars. It looks not too different than the Hellboy we saw in the last two films, except definitely amped up and beefed up. I can't believe Hollywood is making this movie, like, at all.
Why?
Because I don't think the first two made a ton of money.
Oh well, yeah. I was gonna say what makes this any different.
And I don't know if there was a market research, like, is Hellboy fandom really that big? But I mean, good for them. I'm glad it exists.
Do we know where this is going to be set relative to the other two movies? Like
I think it's
reset?
completely different. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a reboot. No Guillermo del Toro, so that's a little bit of a bummer. All right, let's move on to technology news. As we mentioned earlier, Microsoft had a big event this week announcing some new hardware, much of which was leaked ahead of time just to occupy that news cycle. But they have refreshed, after, a year and a couple months, the Surface Pro. They have the Surface Pro 6. This event was titled, was it Back in Black, I want to say? And they have now a version of the Surface Pro with that fold-out hinge that is in black. All black model.
It doesn't look
It
dissimilar.
looks almost the same,
But-
physically. But of course, its guts are updated. You have new Intel Generation 8 processors. They say it's up to 63% faster than last year's. And they also have a new Surface laptop, which has sold surprisingly well. This is the one with a built-in keyboard, and so it doesn't have the removable keyboard. And that one is supposed to be even faster, 85% faster than last year's.
Can we talk about the stated battery life on this thing?
So they say that the Surface Pro will now have 13 and a half hours, and
That
the
seems
laptop
absurdly
will have
long.
14 and a half hours.
That's really good, is what you're saying, right?
That's absurdly long.
I'm going to take that with a huge grain of salt, because that really depends on what you're running. And if these are really pro devices and use them as laptops for things like video editing, for things like image editing, you're going to get much shorter than that. You typically, when Microsoft talks about, that type of battery life, it's video playback using the built-in media player, right? Using as much GPU acceleration and taking things off of those heavy cores and running efficient decoding of video and web browsing. And also, Edge browser, not necessarily Chrome browser. You throw Chrome browser and 4 tabs up there, maybe that battery life gets knocked down a couple hours.
Is the pen come included?
I don't think anything's included.
That's the problem with the whole
Yeah.
Surface ecosystem.
It is price. I believe the starting price is knocked down $900. But if you're going to want the keyboard, which you should, and if you're going to want the pen, which you should, that will take you north of $1,000.
So I think there's lots more to dig into, but my one complaint, no USB-C.
Yep.
Is that really a big complaint?
Yep.
Because USB-A, so many people still have USB-A accessories.
Yeah, but they're compatible. You just need the right cable and dongle.
So what's the dongle you would rather have? USB-C or USB-A? USB 3.0, the blue USB-A.
I don't know. It just seems like that's the trend towards the future. So I'd rather have a laptop that is built for 2 to 3 years down the road, if not longer.
And you can have both,
Yeah.
Don't do what Apple did. Just do USB-C, but have a mix.
I think that's tougher to do because of the type of boards they're using. They probably didn't want to redesign the boards to have all those ports as well. That would have changed the thermal design, and they're already working with not a lot of volume. They also they finally updated the Surface Studio.
You use the Surface Studio here.
I use it on a daily basis, and I
It's
love
your
it.
primary PC. You keep touching the screen, and it freaks me out.
It freaks everyone out. Yeah, but it's what I think desktop computing should be. Similar form factor, same kind of hinge thing. 28-inch display. They say graphics performance. Of course, the first Surface Studio, while the form factor was glorious, it was woefully underpowered because it ran mobile CPU.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I think it runs the latest 8th gen processors, and I believe they are not the mobile CPUs, and the graphics and stuff will be also heavily improved.
50% more graphics power.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Right. It also is built-in, Xbox wireless. So if you want to use your controllers and do some streaming, I guess that works. And it's compatible with the Surface Dial. Now, the Dial, I think, it got the most headlines from the Surface Studio launch 2 years ago, but I think it's probably the least used accessory, the one that just doesn't make a ton of sense.
Is that good for video editing?
Apps just don't support it.
Yeah.
I mean, the better thing is the pen, and I use the pen for Photoshop and just note-taking and just annotating all the time on the Studio, especially on a screen that big. This one's still really expensive. It will be $3,500, I believe, at launch.
Yep, that's the base model with 16 gigs of RAM.
It is pretty, though.
Cabby Lake i7.
Very, very pretty.
Apparently, there's some new Surface headphones. I'd be curious to see what those
Which
are.
use USB-C, by the way.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'll believe that USB-C is the new standard for things when mice, when your standard mouse that you buy off the shelf is USB-C. And mice right now, USB-A. That's like the last peripheral. And mice and keyboards, once those go USB-C, then I'll say I'm ready to switch over.
When's the last time you had to charge your mouse? I do that once a year now.
I don't use wireless mouse.
I use wired mouse too.
I
But
need
I'm wondering what the benefit of C would be. There's no benefit.
I'm just saying, as the port standard,
Yeah.
right? Like form factor standard. I think the mouse and your keyboard, your input accessories are the last bastions of USB-A. And once those get moved over.
But when we're talking about power, C can carry just so
Yes.
much more.
No, totally.
That's what where
absolutely.
it is at.
Yeah, but USB Type A 3.0, you still get a good amount of current, and you get a lot of data
But-
for that.
Back to the headphones. Why is Microsoft putting out headphones? It says they have Cortana in it. Which, is that useful? Forget Cortana for a second. Is it useful to actually have an assistant in your headphones?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I found that strange. The other thing, though, was super interesting. The app mirroring. So now you can cast your Android to a Windows 10 device.
Oh.
So if you have a touchscreen PC with Windows 10 and you can do app mirroring where you throw the app on
works?
your phone, I don't. That's what the announcement said.
It's touch. Wow, that's interesting.
That is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, certainly can't do that with iOS.
I think that would be fascinating if that actually works like that. I'm sure there's probably catches here and there, but if that really works, I think that's pretty amazing.
From Microsoft to an event that happened a week and a half ago that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet, but Amazon also had its own product announcement event, and they announced a heck of a lot of Alexa devices.
Yeah, just Echo everywhere all the time. Everything got upgraded pretty much. Like the show, the dots. Oh my god! Like, where do you start?
Let's start with the things that we think people care most about, and then talk about some of the more obscure things.
How do you decipher what that is?
I think the Dot is a huge seller.
Yes, it's the most popular Echo device.
It's almost like it's a commodity item now, right?
But so what are you going to really do? I know that they improved the sound quality supposedly, but it's not going to be anything that you want to listen to.
Totally. And this is just a refresh for people that don't have Dots yet, who want those, that they want to bundle those in.
All right.
You know, this is just your generic form factor refresh.
You know what else they released, though, was basically a Dot without the speaker. Now, that I found more practical, because I use a Dot connected to my home to an actual speaker system.
So this is just a microphone array.
Exactly.
With the processing.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
I'm surprised they didn't have that already.
They also updated the Echo Show. This is not the Spot, which I think is my current favorite form factor, the circular display.
Yeah.
The Show is the one with the rectangular display, and this is to compete with Google's Google Home with displays. You have a Show. You kept your
I kept my Show. I use it to video call my parents. But the problem with the Show has been I use it in the kitchen, and it's eminently useful in the kitchen to have a screen. The problem is there hasn't been the video content providers haven't been integrated, and that's finally starting to break down.
They pulled YouTube.
Yeah, and that's been ongoing for a long time. But finally, Hulu announced they're going to allow integration with the Echo Show. If that device ever gets all of the video content services where I can have Netflix and YouTube in the kitchen, I think that's an interesting product. It's not a necessary one. It's not as good as the Dot.
Yeah.
But
I like that Echo is strictly audio. And I have a Show. That's my main thing in my office. I use it all the time, but I never ask it to see video content. I like that it's an audio interface.
Well, that's why I like the Spot, because the Spot has a screen and it's great for bedside, because I can get a wallpaper and a clock.
It's a good-looking clock, too.
And I need the bare bones info, music lyrics when playing songs, but I'm never going to actively just look at it as my primary display. And it still does the video chat stuff.
What I thought was cool was you can now pair two Echoes in order to get stereo, as well as a new subwoofer, which wirelessly syncs.
Yes, lots of audio. Now, the device you mentioned earlier that was no audio was called the Echo Input.
Thank you.
Terrible name. But now they also have an Echo subwoofer and also an amp, two amps, right?
Yeah.
And the Echo Link and Echo Link amp.
I don't understand this device. It doesn't even have a microphone. It's not Alexa enabled. I had to ask Patrick Norton, what is this for? And he said he's excited about it. I still don't really get it.
They're stereo amplifiers with multiple audio ends. They look like the back of a receiver. And so this is essentially a receiver with a 60-watt dual-channel amp.
I think it's controllable by Echo devices in your house.
Because it's Ethernet connected.
Yes, or maybe Wi-Fi. So it can switch inputs for you at the behest of your Echo in the kitchen.
Right.
So this is a streaming music play then.
This is a Sonos play. And it's the output part of that where the input is your other devices.
Right.
Where the Echo input, literally the Echo input, or theoretically your Echo microwave. So two kind of weird products.
Yeah.
One, Amazon Basics microwave. It's a microwave, their most basic one, $60, with built-in dash replenishment service.
What's that?
So
that's where you hit the button and products come to you.
More popcorn. You can also control by voice. So you can say something like, one potato.
Yeah.
One Mississippi. And then you can basically use it to add time. So it's just voice controlled microwave.
Okay.
Not really sure what the killer feature is there.
No, me neither.
And then an Amazon wall clock. I am a little bit curious about this.
I didn't even see this.
This is a wall. It looks like a circular wall clock, except it also has a ring of LEDs to show all of your active timers from your Alexa device. And maybe thinking about this, it's a $30 thing. I don't think it has microphones either, although I'm not sure about that. This explains why they released the microwave at all. The point is that they want all these appliances and everything that you would normally buy with electronics in your house to be tied to the Amazon Alexa platform, to be either outputs, inputs, or displays.
You gotta quit saying that word, man.
I know people are they'll freak out their devices.
I like this clock.
It's a nice looking clock.
Oh man, now I gotta get this clock.
And then and if you run timers,
yeah, we do.
Right?
We do run
then
timers.
then you can have a nice visual for the timer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that integration, I think, is why they also did the microwave. They want these to feel seamlessly integrated.
It's important to note that these things don't have microphones in them. The microwave and the clock don't have microphones. They just link.
They're the
to-
outputs.
Yeah,
Same thing with the speaker.
Yeah, and so I think they're just trying to incentivize more Alexa-enabled devices.
He said it now.
Oh,
I know. And then I guess one final thing is they also announced a car accessory, in-car accessory.
No.
Mount to your dashboard, integrate the service into your car, and it has the 8 mic microphone array. So you could tell your car to set a timer, and then inside your house you'll see the timer.
I can't tell you how many times I have been in my car and said the magic word, Echo. I do that.
But do you do that?
When I mean to say, Siri.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
But do you ever in your car wish you could activate something in your home that way? Because this is what that's for.
Nope.
This is when you're in your car and you want the microwave to add 10 seconds to 10 potatoes, right?
The future.
but isn't that what your phone is for?
But this adds that extra little bit of convenience
Yeah.
by breaking down having to hold the button on your phone.
But if this is making like a location play, like I can tell when you're pulling into the driveway and I'm going to activate your smart home, well, my phone knows where I am too.
I think it's less about that kind of automation, and more about just control. The control you have with your voice when you are trained to use their phrases and use their skills.
I have to admit, if this is only $25, I mean, it's going to be $50, but $25 to try, I don't see a use case for it. But a lot of these products are cheap.
That's why the Dot's so popular.
Right. And so I feel like people are going to try them, and maybe, just maybe, people hack them for different purposes than what we see here.
A little bit of business news related to Amazon. After announcing these products, the company also announced, because it has been facing a lot of criticism for its treatment of its employees, that they're raising its minimum wage to $15 for all of their U.S. employees, including part-time workers and seasonal contract workers.
Good.
So I think that's much needed. Probably still not enough in a lot of places, but a move in the right direction. All right, moving on in the right direction of this podcast. Jeremy, you got your Apple Series 4 watch.
I did. I got my Apple Series 4 watch, and I quite like it. The screen is nice. The detents, the fake detents, the force feedback, on the wheel.
Is it good?
I like it. The speaker's nice and loud.
It's a different haptic engine?
Yeah, well, there's two now. Like, there's one just for the wheel. And one. The other haptic engine is actually quite different, but I don't know what generation that entered. It's great. I like the watch. I like the new band, too.
How about these new complications and these news?
Unfortunately, like the complications I actually use, the custom ones, such as I use one just to see what Bitcoin's at. I don't even care, but I like to see it. And I have one from my Bolt. They don't work with the new one. The new complication scheme.
Oh, the apps need to be updated.
Yes, exactly. So I'm actually using the old screen still, but it's whatever. It's still bigger.
I took a look at it last week when we were at OC5, and you said it feels thinner, and technically is 0.7 millimeters.
Yeah.
Not as thick as the last gen.
Thinner.
It, to me, does not feel like it's all that different.
You didn't put it on?
You cannot tell it's thinner.
I know it's thinner.
Yeah, that's all. This is the great psychology experiment, the great placebo experiment
Yep.
of 2018.
No, I mean, anyone coming from Series 0 is going to be happy. That's me.
And that's true, because just Series 0, you can't do anything.
Plus, the battery life, by the way, I could go 4 days with this watch.
No way.
Yes. Well, I don't know, but when I put it on in the morning, I
Okay.
use it all day long. I take it off almost 12 hours later. It's only down by a quarter. So I could go 2 full days.
Two full days is actually a pretty big advancement.
That's really big for travelers, for people who do day trips, right? Who one night trips for work trips. Not having to pack a watch charger for that, for me is.
I mean, how
very
many
useful.
times do you forget to charge your phone? Same thing with a watch, right? So you want to. 2 days that's a big deal.
It's also new. I had the last watch almost 2.5 years, so it'll probably go down.
What? They haven't enabled any of the health features, have they?
No, you can't do the echocardiogram yet. There was one of the apps that was demonstrated that keeps track of your diet. That is that was just released, but no, the cool new stuff is not. It does do the fall detection, but I don't have it turned on.
And you haven't fallen yet.
Yet.
Yet. Let's talk about Google streaming for a little bit. Google yesterday announced that they are trying a new service called, what is this? It's called Project Stream. And it's an interesting place, although it actually makes some sense for Google to be tapping into this. And this is not only streaming video, which of course they have YouTube, but streaming entertainment, interactive entertainment, video games. This coincided with the release of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which from all accounts is a great game and has been reviewed very well. But this is Google's attempt to prove that you could render these games off-site and play them locally in 1080p quality at, is it 30 or 60?
60 FPS.
60 FPS. And as long as you have interconnection of 25 megabits or faster, you could play this game remotely. They're
With
doing a
no
whole
latency?
with what they say is very minimal latency.
Whatever. Until we actually do these things, I'll just believe it when I see it.
Well, they're doing it. I mean, they're launching a beta. People
I'm
can
not-
sign up and people can play. Did you played on live, right? You tried.
Yeah.
You tried. And was it the latency that was a problem for you, or the compression? For me, it's always been the compression.
I don't care for the compression, but certainly that wouldn't ruin the experience. For me, it was always the latency.
You think the latency's always been too much to do something? Well, maybe it's the choice of game then.
Not exactly. Like, you could play World of Warcraft, no problem, but you're not going to play Street Fighter 2.
Right. Yeah.
So it matters,
Yeah.
but we will see.
Maybe the combination, some type of composite where all the background information is rendered off-site and your front information, your character is all rendered locally.
Oh,
That could be the solution.
that's crazy.
I keep
Why not?
looking at this and just, we talked about cloud-based consoles like 2 or 3 weeks ago. That's just going to happen.
Well, it's Google that's taking initiative with their broadband infrastructure, with their compression and their delivery, and this could be them saying that maybe they want to turn YouTube gaming into something, right? A subscription service where you could play games over YouTube, because kids are already on YouTube. If you were watching your favorite streamer play a video on YouTube, and there's an option to click this button to play that game now without installing anything,
Yep.
that's a powerful business proposition.
I have no doubt. I think it probably will be successful because convenience always seems to trump quality. And it's going to be a lot cheaper. You're not going to need a PC with a 2080 in it to use a service like
Right.
this.
You'll just pay the $60 for the game, and Google will run its servers.
I'm watching my favorite streamer right now. I'm watching Not That Will Smith play PUBG live as we record.
Is that
this
actually
podcast.
happening right now?
Yes, it is happening
Oh,
right
my
now.
goodness. Wow. I saw Will this
There's
morning.
Ghost Willhead right there.
You know what an example of a PC is that I think Norm would like to have?
Yeah.
It's the enterprise PC, but you have to go to China to get it.
The enterprise is like business to business, B2B.
Yeah, right.
Is this like Oracle?
No, this is the NCC 1701. This actually never existed, this one. It says D on it, but those nacelles are not the D, right? You've seen this
I've
computer?
seen this. So it has a saucer section.
Well, yeah. It's clearly the Star Trek Enterprise PC.
It's the Enterprise /A from Motion Picture is what it looks like. But
Oh, really?
That is not the D.
no, it's
No, that's what I'm saying. Not the nacelles. You mean the whole thing?
I'm saying the
That's
whole.
an A.
Yeah, that's the original /A.
You think so? Okay. All right. It's just all silvery and stuff. So
I mean, that's a circular whatever.
yeah, fine. Okay.
But we can. This is not something that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We need to debate. Like this is clearly.
Yeah, you're right. It's a weird futuristic A.
Yeah, yeah. But where's the computer?
I don't know. It says it has the new 2080 in it too.
It looks like from the second picture, the computer is between the nacelles.
Oh, that's why it's all weird and fat back there?
Connected, yeah. Yeah. So it looks great from one side, and it's on like a hinged platform, which is kind of cool.
I mean, how big is it? It would have to be humongous.
It looks, I mean, you can tell by the USB ports that it's pretty big.
Well, they're going to sell it for like $2,000, right?
But only in China.
$2,180.
Oh.
But given that
I actually thought it would be a lot more than that.
Me too. Given that it's going to have the hotness graphics card in there, and it's a custom design.
Only runs Windows 10 Enterprise Edition.
Oh, wah wah.
It's a Lenovo product, so it could end up here in the States, assuming they can get the licensing all figured out.
Yeah, yeah. And finally, in tech, we talked about the Elon business stuff, but Tesla users are finally getting the new autopilot and interface rollout, version 9 of the vehicle software.
Wait, it's out?
It's out for not wide release yet. There was some speculation that it would be wide release on October 1st, but people have started sharing videos, and
this is the software that will transition from highway to highway.
This is highway to highway only, no city streets.
Yeah, but still, that's massive.
It will put you in the right lane for your highway to highway changes.
You could go across country like this.
Theoretically, yes. And there's also HOV lane automation.
Oh, this is big deal stuff.
There's also it's a massive update.
It will overtake cars if it needs to in order to get on to a proper ramp.
I don't know about that. That's to be tested.
That's what Elon said with that podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast.
This is to be tested.
Okay.
Also, the sensors they're more confident in their sensors' ability to recognize the traffic around you. So we'll actually show finally blind spot when you're changing lanes. We'll have cars indicated in red to the left and right of you.
Cool.
In that right spot, and it will also now identify trucks, motorcyclists, and pedestrians visually on the screen. So previously on the screen you can see other cars around you, but now they'll be actually identified as motorcycles and trucks.
Does it have Atari games yet?
It does have Atari games. Oh! That's right. The MAME emulator Atari's games there. You were skeptical. You didn't. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, that's great. Especially after, did you see that video of a cop pulling over a Tesla driver?
You have a computer mounted on your dashboard, sir.
I'm sorry, sir. You can't mount computers to your dashboard.
I'm sorry, sir. This is a Tesla. I don't believe you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's also just a bunch of other features like media control for passengers via the app. The UI for Model X and S owners is now revamped to look like the Model 3. And there's also, although a little bit, I think, overrated, there's a dashboard, dash cam functionality. So the cameras that it uses for autopilot, the video cameras, you can plug in a USB key into one of your USB ports and on screen click a record button. And it's kind of janky, but you can record video from your dashboard camera directly onto a USB key. But it won't do like parking while your car is parked. It won't record video.
It's still good.
Yeah, better than nothing.
Can I tell you how Elon got me? He got inside my head. I watched that Joe Rogan interview, and he said something at one point where when Tesla came up, he said, "We want Tesla to be the most fun thing you could possibly buy." And that stuck with me. And then I realized I was thinking about it days later while I was on the highway, and I'm trying to justify buying a Tesla now because it's the most fun thing I could possibly buy.
Like you just got suckered by marketing.
That's
totally
midlife crisis marketing.
Well, literally,
that's how all sports cars.
A billboard slogan.
It's like, oh my God, I really want one because it's the most fun. And the reason why, I was totally trying to fool myself. I was driving and I was thinking, what a pain. My ankle started to hurt, and I was thinking how great it would be if the car could drive itself.
It would be great.
And now I'm trying to justify it, and then I realize I have cruise control.
Yes, Jeremy, your car has cruise control.
And that's all I wanted. I just wanted something to relax my ankle. And I was almost there. I was like, I have a reason.
If only you had Echo Auto, you could have been like, hey, do I have cruise control? And I'll be like, yes, you do.
You have an electric car with cruise control.
Is it the most fun thing you've ever bought?
No.
Really?
I mean, that's a bold statement. I have to think about that.
It didn't have the Atari games until now.
Sure. I don't think you're going to spend $50,000 to $60,000 or more, in some cases well over $100,000 on a car, and if it's just for it to be the most fun thing you've bought, it needs to be practical. It needs to have a value proposition, and the value can't just be quote unquote fun.
Yeah.
The value needs to be all sorts of things. You know,
Oh my God.
like
You're going to be a great dad.
I'm just saying, like,
you got
that's
it all
how
worked
car
out.
that's how car decision making is supposed to work. Not just the most. You can say that the $500 game console is the most fun thing you'll buy, because for its money, you know, $500 for a game, $400 for a Switch. I've got so much value out of that. But when we're talking about order of magnitude for how much you're paying or more for a car, it's got to be a little more than fun. You got suckered into the market.
Jeremy, have you
correct.
tried ball in a cup?
That's correct.
It's pretty good value for the money in terms of fun.
That's true. You know, my daughter made one. She watched a how-to on YouTube and made one yesterday.
All right. That does it for technology. Before we move on to our next segment, I want to thank the sponsor that makes this episode possible, and that's Lutron's Casada smart lighting system. Today I want to talk to you about Casada by Lutron, smart lighting control brought to you by Lutron, pioneers in smart home technology. With Casada, you can schedule your lights to come on at dusk so your family always comes back to a well-lit home. Casada by Lutron takes your smart speaker, Alexa, Google Home, Apple HomePod, and makes it more powerful by letting you control your lights with your voice. Casada is the most connected smart lighting brand, and it works with more smart home devices than any other smart lighting brand, letting you pair lights with other things like security devices, thermostats, and music systems like Nest, Sonos, and more. In our house, because of Danica's pregnancy, we are trying to not be as mobile as possible, and we've been using something like this to just turn on lights and basically turn on a lot of our electronics. You can go get smart lighting the smart way with Casada by Lutron. Search for Casada, that's Caseta, or check out lutron.com to learn more. Casada by Lutron, welcome home, peace of mind. And thank them for sponsoring this week's episode.
Time for a moment of science. All right, time for a little rant. You've probably heard this rant from me before. The Nobel Prizes are totally absurd. They reward, based on the rules, certain things that aren't as valuable in a modern context. So the rules are that you have to be alive, that only 3 people can be awarded per year per category, and there's other rules too. Like who comprises the committee, even though it's a committee of experts. If you're in the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, which generally means you're a professor in science in Sweden, you get to vote on this. So it's not exactly like the most diverse group of people that actually vote on the prize. All that being said, the Nobel Prizes still carry a significant amount of weight, and this is Nobel Prize Week, so I'm about to talk about a couple of awards. But I'm also going to highlight a couple ways that it doesn't make sense, even in these awards this week, that highlighted accomplishments from many, many years ago. All right, so first up, physiology and/or medicine. All right, we're going to get our first Nobel Prize that really targets cancer. So you've heard of immunotherapy. I've talked about it on this show. We're going to talk about some of the basic work that led to the development of that field. So we have T cells in our body, these white blood cells that essentially target and attack different invaders in our system. These T cells usually have to be activated by some way. They find a cell that carries an antigen that basically gives it a key and turns it on. And then it can go start hunting for the thing it's supposed to look for. Well, cancer cells, certain ones, have developed a way of reaching out and having attached to it an inhibitor. And that inhibitor, called an immune checkpoint, the T cell would hit that immune checkpoint and deactivate. And essentially, when eat the cancer cell. The cancer cell almost developed an immunity to this. And it's a way of, as one of the winners described, it essentially put the brakes on our immune response. The Nobel Prize was awarded for that discovery. And a set of drugs following this breakthrough have been tried to develop to essentially bond into that checkpoint on the T cell. So now the cancer cell can't say, well, slow down. And so the T cell eats up the cancer and it's gone. This immunotherapy has been the promise in cancer research for a while. It tends to be really expensive, but it also works in ways that other cancer drugs can't. So this is a fairly important discovery, and it was awarded to two people. I'm going to make sure I pronounce the names right. James Allison of the U.S., he discovered this while he was at UC Berkeley and then continued his work at Sloan Kettering in New York. And Tasuko Honjo of Japan, who had done a lot of this work, 35 years ago, and his work, I believe, at the University of Tokyo. That was physiology and or medicine.
Is that the only Nobel Prize?
Nope.
Oh,
we
okay.
have physics that came up this morning. I appreciate that. Physics was awarded to 3 researchers today, and physics was done for some laser work. So we're going to talk about lasers. So imagine just any laser, like a coherent source of light that's one color, big beam, high-intensity beam.
I'm going to imagine blue.
Okay, you can imagine blue. Let's imagine putting some microscopic little balls in the middle of that beam. Now, we're talking about lasers, which are light. Does that ball, which weighs almost nothing, does it move once it's in the center of that beam?
In a vacuum?
Yes, in a vacuum.
Yes.
Why?
It does move in a vacuum. There is something called radiating pressure,
What?
which is what this Nobel Prize is awarded for. So those photons carry energy that can be imparted to these things, which create a pressure that pushes that object forward. Now imagine if you could, well, let me give you one other piece of information. Typically, lasers that are produced have a higher intensity band in the middle of the laser and a gradient across so that it's lower intensity at the edges of that beam.
Yeah.
Well, let's say we could focus that laser with like lenses. Could we focus 2 lasers with lenses on that ball from different sides?
Yes.
Sure.
And what would happen? Those forces would cancel
each other out. Yeah.
And that
Equal but
ball
opposite reaction.
would get stuck in the middle. This is a laser trap. So we have essentially using this idea and mechanism, a number of researchers developed laser traps, and they get much more complicated than this, to trap molecules, like literally atoms, in place. And by doing so, you can actually use the lasers itself to shunt off energy from that atom in place, because that radiative force is kind of going in, hitting the atom itself. And so you can actually cool the atom down through these laser traps. It's pretty awesome work. That's half of the prize. The other half of the prize went for something interesting. How do you get more power in your laser? Crank it up to 11?
Sure.
Well, a couple of researchers found a long time ago that one of the ways to get more intensity is to pulse your laser, like short beams of light that are sort of interrupted as opposed to one continuous beam is a way to deliver much more power in a targeted area.
Interesting.
Why is that?
Because like that pulse you can generate a lot of photons in a short burst that essentially carry more energy in that little packet of light that's
it's not
coming
they're
through.
using the same amount of energy, but concentrating it. Okay. Got it.
I mean, is it kind of like when somebody takes my wheel off and they use one of those things that goes, and it's because it's hammering the bolt on and off that it's so much more powerful rather than just constant torque?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, is that how those things work?
Yeah.
I mean, is it like cycling? I thought it was continuous pressure with those. No?
No, that's why they're so powerful, because they're constantly hammering in a rotational direction.
I think that analogy works then. I didn't know they worked that way.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, podcast listeners.
So, by the way, this is a pretty commonly used device now. So every laser eye surgery uses this methodology to focus laser energy to hit your eye to actually do the sort of etching and carving and shaping of your lens to essentially create the correction. So this is a commonly used technique now. I will say one of the winners, and let me get her name right, had an interesting issue. Her name's Donna Strickland. She's one of the winners for this pulse laser thing. If you looked yesterday, Donna Strickland had no entries on Wikipedia. Not because that discovery wasn't hers for the last, 20, 30 years. Just never had a Wikipedia article because it was rejected by Wikipedia editors years ago for not being a valuable entry. And so I just want to know there's an article up now. I just want to know if you could, how you can attach comments to revisions on Wikipedia?
Yeah.
If somebody just wrote, how about my article now?
Nice.
There are more awards being announced this week, but there's a brief recap of where we are at this point.
Thanks, Kishore.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
We're going to go really quick through the VR Minute because we had a whole episode of an hour plus of VR last week, of course, talking about Oculus Quest. Jeremy, you had something you want to call out?
Yeah, we need a correction sound effect. So in one of our episodes last week, I think it was the podcast, I said that John Carmack in his keynote said that the Oculus Go would support, we were talking about the new USB storage support that they're bringing to it.
Right.
I said he said it would require micro SD, and he didn't. He said micro USB. So you were right. It's just that when I heard micro, my brain thought he said SD, because USB micro is a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if micro USB is a thing, but I know what he meant. Like, he meant a thumb drive, right? He just meant USB storage.
Yes. Well, that won't be a problem going forward because the Oculus Quest will have USB-C connection, and we won't be using any micro USBing at all. If you want to have more storage. Something like coming out of Connect, there's so many more questions I had. I wish we'd asked the developers there and people working on hardware. Like for example, we know that the Quest will start at 64 gigabytes. That will be, and it won't have expandable storage is the assumption. What does that mean for game developers? Like, if they think 80% of people are going to be 80% of that content is going to be games and 20% media, people will most likely still be putting both of those on this device. Will the game packages be smaller? Like, is there going to be a target application size for game packages, not to fill everything up? Or is it going to be a lot of deleting and reinstalling over time? Not sure. Someone also asked about streaming, from PC streaming. Like, could you use the Quest as a proxy for your Rift? And that's a really good idea, a really good question. I don't think that's going to be the case. John Carmack said they are experimenting internally with potentially some ways to stream, especially with remote desktop.
So that casting is only going one way, then.
Exactly. You're not going to get the input and the tracking from the headset back into the Rift. Although that would be a cool way to, if it worked, if low latency was a thing, you could use as a wireless, tetherless Rift solution.
Hey, even if it was tether, I think USB-C could handle that bandwidth. I don't know if the infrastructure is all there in order to send it.
Sure, and even if it does, ergonomically, you're talking about the cable from the side of your head, you'd still have to wrangle a cable from that and have it ergonomically get to your computer in time, and Oculus has already invested in that single new type of connector for video cards for data and video.
Generally, we're waiting until next year before we learn anything about a new wired headset.
Or anything on the PC side. Quest is definitely just focused on that mobile side, its own app store. They did have, Hugo Barra had that image on the keynote that showed partners that would be launching one of the 50 launch experiences and games for Quest. And, there are a lot of developers there, some familiar names. Big Screen, Harmonix is on that.
Do you recognize the one Dead Center?
dead center. What is that right in the center? It's
Ready at Dawn.
That's Ready at Dawn. Interesting.
Yeah, man. That's the Echo Arena developer / Lone
That's
Echo.
pretty great.
So I wonder what they're putting together. Like that's the one set of games that I hesitate to look forward to that on Quest because of the tracking.
Right.
Because you don't get a full 360-degree tracking with your hands. But if they think that they can bring something at launch, whether it's a spin-off or anything that uses that zero-G style of locomotion that they've mastered, I'm on board.
And we don't know how many of these, because they have listings for like things like Twisted Pixel. How many of these are going to be ports? Is it going to be that Twisted Pixel is going to take Wilson's Heart and port that over, or it's going to be a whole new thing dedicated, made specifically for Quest? I hope it's a combination.
Soulfar's on there, so obviously I think In Death will be coming, which is that's a perfect match because the tracking is always right in front of you, and it's a great game. I mean, I would really look forward to playing that. I wonder what Servios is going to bring.
Yeah.
What's the racing game, the running game?
Oh god.
That one.
Yes.
That's
Sprint Vector.
Sprint Vector is the one I would like to play.
Yeah. Well, there are Sprint Vector competitions these days. So that could totally work. But we're going to keep this short. I do want to give a shout out to 2 games that are not on the Oculus platform or even on the Steam platform. 2 PSVR games that launched recently. One that launched this week to rave reviews. We'll be playing it and we'll be reviewing it in the future. But Astro Bot Rescue, developed by Sony's Japan studio, just came out.
We played that at E3 and
we did.
I did. Did you play it?
I did. I didn't play it. I heard you told us about it.
It was very enjoyable. Like I wouldn't have thought it's gotten the reviews it's gotten though, because the reviews are stratospheric. Like the people are talking about this being the Mario 64 of VR.
I've played about an hour of it. I believe there are 25 levels to this, and like 5 levels per world. And just playing the first world, it is really fun. It was really delightful.
Awesome. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah. The other games also for PSVR, been out for a couple weeks now. It's Firewall, a 0 hour. It's made by First Contact Entertainment. They did ROM Extractor, which was kind of like a raw data style, robots coming at you, wave-based shooter. This is different in that it's like Counter-Strike for VR. It's 4v4 multiplayer skirmishes, defuse bomb, plant the bomb kind of thing, in real world locales with classes in a progression system, online only, although you can fight against bots in training, and it is a lot of fun as well. It works with the PS Aim controller, and I think they just patched it for better matchmaking, but people have been raving about it on the PSVR forums, so I booted it up, and I think we're going to play some this weekend as well to review that in a future episode.
Kishore, what was your opinion of the Quest from afar?
Oh, I'm going to buy the shit out of that thing.
You're on board?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people criticized how I was not enthused about the Go launch last year. I'm all in on this device.
Is it the convenience factor?
I don't think they even finished saying 6th off, and I was in.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that kind of motion, that freedom of motion, is good. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky to bring some of the Rift titles down to it, but I
look
forward to seeing what can be done.
I think for people who are familiar with VR and have already bought into VR, when they heard the $400, we were all ecstatic.
Yep.
That's a fantastic price. I think it's still going to be a tough sell for people who have not experienced VR, because they're going to look at that and they're going to say, I have a phone. Why can't I buy one of those little phone sleeves and put them on my face and get my quote-unquote VR content? Or you have a $200 thing. Why can't I just buy that? And a lot of it's going to be in that messaging.
As long as the story is the hardware is selling VR as opposed to the games and their content selling VR, those people are always going to have that situation.
What do you think is going to be the killer app for this?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. I don't think we've played it yet.
Whoa.
I mean, meaning it's not super hot or tennis scramble.
But you don't think it could be a port of you don't think Robo Recall for Quest could be a killer app?
I don't know about that. Was it a killer app for Rift?
I think
a lot of people liked it.
As a killer app for Touch.
Okay.
It sold a lot. It being a pack-in, free game to get hand presence, it was definitely sold a lot of games.
For me, Echo Arena was the first killer app for VR. I would have bought a Rift to play that. I'm not sure what it will be for this. I bet that it will be there, though. 50 games, that's a lot.
I think that we're also talking about for games that people can either get into and maybe are to people who don't have their VR legs yet.
You know what everyone who's listening to this is thinking? It's Beat Saber.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
That's actually right.
You're right.
Totally right.
And you've seen the tweet, right? Like,
Yeah.
they asked the Beat Saber developers why aren't they listed, and they're
Yeah.
just like rolling their eyes. Like, don't worry.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beat Saber, there you go. Beat Saber will be the killer app. $400. Beat Saber. And to the other point, I think a platformer, a game like Astro Bot, I think it's going to appeal to people with VR legs and without VR legs. And it really is a type of experience. It may not make the most out of VR and won't be as immersive as, like a Lone Echo or Windlands 2 in terms of the thing that you can't do outside of VR, but it bridges that gap and is showing you a new type of gaming. And I think that's it. All right. We are wrapped up just over an hour.
Come find us at New York Comic Con.
That's right.
We will be there. I'm leaving for New York today, but I won't get to the con till Friday. That's when Norm, Joey, and I will be there. Obviously, Adam will be there doing an incognito walk at some point. But also Kate from our team will be around. Come say hello. If you're a cosplayer, is there still time to get in touch?
Yeah. Send me you can send me an email or send me a DM. Info links all on the homepage of the site. We'd love to check out your cosplays at New York Comic Con. And don't know if we'll do a meetup, but follow us on Twitter and we will announce something if we decide to do something.
Yeah, fantastic. I will be in cosplay. Be nice to me.
And we have an outro this week.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
All right, well, look, Wally's already gone. So is Up.
Oh my!
On the Pixar side, you have Toy Story 1, Toy Story 3, Nemo, and Monsters, Inc.
Were we ranking Pixar movies?
I think so. That was a full.
Did you say Up was gone as in not qualified as a top Pixar movie?
Was it the bracket?
Yeah, it was the bracket.
Oh,
that's what it was.
These were other people.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't our opinion.
Because that's a rare full 3-second Norm what.